i-netradio.com. i-netradio.com. Dobry den, I Dobropa Jalabat. This is Springtime in Moscow with your host, James Tuthill, and I'm Stephen Stimson. We've got some Russian with a little American, and we're serious with a little humor. So, Jim, what is happening in the world today?
Steve, thank you for the nice introduction. I'm Jim Tuthill, and this is Springtime in Moscow. We are now on YouTube. All you have to do is plug in Springtime in Moscow, all one word, YouTube into Google, and you will find us. We are also on i-netradio.com 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. And today we're broadcasting from Jupiter, Florida, with an assist from New Jersey. And we're also on powertalk.com, pwrtalk.com, with our good friend Lillian Caldwell, who broadcasts out of Detroit, Michigan every day. Today, I have with me Jake Danishevsky and Steve Stimson, who's here with me in the studio. We are exactly 1 year out on i-netradio.com. Our first broadcast was on June 4th, 2013, and this show will be heard on June 6th, but we're recording right here on our anniversary date. Okay, today we're going to be talking about a company that's been in the news a lot lately, Walmart. Is Walmart a model, a great model for the free enterprise system, for American ingenuity, for productivity and efficiency in bringing costs down? Or is it a union buster? Does it drive down the suppliers' prices? Does it engage in predatory pricing, where it prices goods so low that it drives its competitors out of business? Is it guilty of giving limited health benefits and low wages to its employees? Or is it passing on all of these savings to the consumer? And are American consumers reaping the benefits? That's the question today. Okay, Jake, how are you doing in New Jersey?
I'm doing great, Jim. How are you?
Great. And Stefan, how are you today?
Excellent.
Congratulations on our 1 year of recording. We must have, 260 shows? Pretty close to that. Very close. Yes. Steve and Jake, this week, or the last few days, especially over the weekend, on a number of talk shows, the topic of Walmart came up. And there are various people who are concerned and upset about Walmart. They include labor unions, community groups, grassroots organizations, religious organizations, and we'll talk about that a little, environmental groups, and even Walmart customers. Okay, let me first ask each one of you a question, and I will try to throw this out to Steve to begin with. Steve, Walmart goes into a lot of communities, and I think it's a factual matter that when they go in, a lot of small mom and pop retail stores have closed over the years. But one of the things that Walmart has been charged with, not just in the United States, but in Mexico and Europe, is something called predatory pricing. That's where they drop down the price of a certain item to such a low price, below their cost, below what it's costing them, so that they drive the competition out of business. And they've been sued for this in a number of places. And in fact, they've entered into some settlements regarding predatory pricing. Okay. Now, is it simply the American way to put the price down as low as you can and try to gain an advantage over your competition and try maybe to do away with the competition? I'm going to give you an example. In the late 1800s and the early 1900s, a man named John D. Rockefeller. Some consider him to be the greatest businessman in the history of the United States. I don't know. He drove down the price of kerosene to such an extent that wherever he was competing with people, they couldn't compete anymore. They went out of business because they could not match his price. The reason for that was he was making a nice profit in his other locations. So when he went into new locales, he could drive it down. It would cost him a few dollars, but in the long run, he would gain a monopoly on the local area. And that's sort of what's happening here. And under the law in the United States of America, the antitrust laws, because these cases have been determined by the Supreme Court, you cannot have predatory pricing in order to drive out competition. Antitrust laws want to foment competition, not get rid of it. What do you think? Do you think that's just America zeal and free enterprise, or do you think it's wrong, predatory pricing?
No, definitely it's not. It's immoral. It's what I consider the highest level of capitalism. That's what monopolization is. It's where the last person standing takes everything, and that's what Walmart is doing in the retail business. They are doing exactly what is anti-social in our world today. They're not helping the society. They're only thinking themselves and how much money that they can rake from the populace.
Really?
Oh, definitely. Oh, most definitely.
Okay.
The only good thing, let me put in, that I can say about Walmart in any way, shape, or manner is they let people camp out in their parking lots overnight. That's the only good thing that they do.
What's so great about that?
Well, all the poor people that have no place to go, they can sleep in the parking lot.
Oh, I see.
Or for instance, if you're traveling around the country, you have a trailer or a camper, you can park in their parking lot.
Oh, that's nice. I didn't realize
That's the only beneficial thing they do. But there's a reason for that. What do you think that is?
I hope that when they open the doors in the morning, those campers go into their store.
Well, exactly, but most of these Walmarts are open 24 hours a day.
Oh.
So they love the people living right outside the doors.
Yes.
More people going in and out. They love it.
It's always good to have your customers camped. That's literally camped outside your doors. That takes the expression to the highest form.
That's right. So there's an ulterior motive for the benevolent reason that I like Walmart.
Jake, you've been on our show many times, and I've always gotten the indication that you're a proponent of the free enterprise system and that anybody can have a shot or a chance to go to the top in terms of success and financial success and making their business successful. What do you think? Do you think that when Walmart sells items below cost, whether that's predatory pricing or just free enterprise at its best?
Well, thanks first of all for having me on the show. Congratulations on 1 year anniversary.
Thank you.
You're welcome. That's first of all. Second of all, surprisingly, I don't completely disagree with Steve on this one. But I look at it like this. If the business legally is doing something, and I already mentioned that on the show before, if the business is legally doing something, whether it's moral or not, it's not for us to decide. Once again, I said before, moral will only make your business better. Immoral will eventually kill your business. Hopefully, customers will realize that your business is not where they want to go because you're doing something immorally. But that's besides the point. Walmart has broken the rules. You mentioned yourself that there is a law. Remember, they went after IBM, they went after Microsoft, they went after a few companies that were trying to monopolize the market. So if you're breaking the law, eventually you will pay the price. So if they're breaking the law by their competitive pricing, that's one thing. If it's immoral to underbid your opponents, that's a free competition, and that drives the prices down. That makes the business more efficient, and that makes the customers happy. For example, either one of you probably went to Walmart if you wanted to buy something from a bigger company with a good warranty, and you didn't feel bad about buying it cheaper, so as everybody else. So is it immoral for you to get something with a good warranty that you can return the item if you're not happy with it, and it's going to be a competitive price. It's not immoral for anybody. So, I mean, the law broken, that's one thing. Immoral, that's not for me to decide.
Okay. Let's go to the second subject. The newscasters over the weekend, and I don't know what their source material is, said that the biggest foreign partnership in the United States of America is between Walmart and the country of China. Okay? And they said on one of the shows that because Walmart is making or buying so many items that are made in China, that it was a shift of 96,000 jobs. If those items were being manufactured in the U.S., in other words, there'd be 96,000 jobs more here. In the source materials that we have in front of us today, I think I read 1 million jobs, but I don't know if that's true or it's not true. But I'm certain that a number of jobs have switched over to China because of this. Now, I just want to remind you of one thing. When Walmart first started going, I mean, they've been going for a long time, but they just, about 20 years ago, they really started to take off like a rocket. And if my memory serves me correct, they were so proud of the American flag, and they said that all of their items were made in America, and that when you went into the store, you were getting American items, and that seems to have gone out the window. I don't watch that much TV, but I certainly do not see those ads on TV anymore. I only go to Walmart once or twice a year to buy little toys for my granddaughter. I don't go in for any other reasons. There's no need for me to go to Walmart. I live by myself. So we have this situation where apparently goods are being made in China and they're being brought here. Now, I know that Chinese drywall has contributed to huge problems in the construction industry. I know that toys that have been Chinese toys, manufactured toys sold to children have had lead. There have been a lot of problems with lead. And apparently this Miley Cyrus line of necklaces and bracelets, which were manufactured in China and sold at Walmart, this jewelry contained harmful amounts of the toxic metal cadmium. And exposure to cadmium can lead to bone softening and kidney failure. And they had to pull these items off of the shelf. I've always had doubts about how good the quality is of these Chinese manufactured items. So if we roll all of that into one big ball, Jake, does it bother you that the biggest supplier to Walmart of retail items, not groceries and things like that, but retail items is China? Does that cause you any concern?
Well, of course, it causes me concern. Look, as a consumer, you said sometimes you go there to buy Miley Cyrus product or something else. But with me personally, I never bought anything from Walmart for other reasons. I just didn't find the product I needed. Does it cause a concern? Of course. Listen, I mean, I have kids. I have concerns about their health. For example, when I was buying a house, every house in America up to until a certain point was built with lead paint. It was a lead-based paint. So I put lead detectors to see if my house had any source of lead paint. So yeah, of course I'm concerned, and of course I'm concerned that China does not do things to certain standards that require health issues and things like that. And that brings me up to the topic that when we regulate our companies to uphold certain standards, then we go to outside of this country and we build products that do not uphold the same standards. Therefore, they're required they can make them cheaper. So we're required basically to have products that we don't believe in, we don't like, and we don't have another choice. So that's why when we see American-made product, even though it's a few dollars more, it makes more sense, not just to support America, but to support a much better product. And actually, Donald Trump, he spoke about it very intensively, that when he used to buy his products for construction In China, they're not the same products. It's not the same drywall. It's not the same quality. And eventually you end up paying for it in the long run.
Yeah,
So
that always is the case.
that's always is the case.
Yeah.
So I mean, I was in software development, and not to point any fingers, but even culturally, forget about the language barriers, anything. Even culturally, when you send your software to be developed somewhere else, eventually you get software that you still have to fix. So in the long run, you're spending 2-3 times more that you would spend if you just did it in a New York office and be over with. Instead, you get the software back and you see these little things that are just not culturally understood by somebody else in a different country. And that's a problem. You end up spending more in the long run. So that's why if you give companies incentives, don't punish the company. Just give them incentives. Companies will bring the workforce back because competition will be much more feasible for them to grasp.
Steve, let me ask you the China question, and I forgot to add one extra thing. In these materials somewhere, and I don't have time to check out every single fact, and this seemed a little high to me, but maybe it's true. In these documents, they say that 10% of America's trade deficit is based on Walmart's connection with China. So what do you think of this whole thing about quality of goods, shipping jobs overseas, and creating, they must be creating somewhat to the trade deficit. I'm not sure how much. What do you think of all that?
China loves this. China loves this. This is creating jobs in China and exports, bringing more money into the country. The country that's losing is the United States in more ways than one. But China is creating an imbalance in trade where they're increasing their exports and we're increasing our imports, which is not good at all. Think about it in reverse. If we were manufacturing and making things here and sending them overseas, like we used to do, 40, 50 years ago. Now we've lost all the jobs, we've lost all the manufacturing, and China's picked up on it, as well as other countries around the world, because of the cheap labor. As I've said time and time again, it all comes down to labor. And Walmart is probably if not the worst, but one of the largest perpetrators of social injustice in the United States. And social injustice, let me just clarify, is in the neglect of social responsibility. And again, I'm using that word social in everything I say because it has to do with what capitalism has done to this country. And Walmart is one of the largest perpetrators of the capitalistic idea. It's evil from the bottom up.
But Steve, how can you blame shareholders who want to get higher earnings so that the value of their stock goes up? Maybe they'll even get a dividend. A lot of companies don't pay dividends these days. But how can you blame shareholders or in a closely held corporation, one owner or three owners or something like that, when they can't afford to pay the worker $20 an hour here and they can get it for, I don't know, $2 or $3 an hour in China? How can you blame them?
Well, it's like anything else. If I want to go and live in another country, that's my prerogative. But living in a country that is inferior to this country is not what I like. Therefore, we've always made the better product here, inferior products abroad. But because of the greed, these corporations, all they want is the money. Again, the shareholders, the top 2%, the plutocrats, as I call them, the evil people in this country, they just go after it for greed. They don't care who's being raped. And the little man here in this country that loses his job, his store, they don't care, and they don't care about the people that are being abused and put through unbelievable labor, this dishonesty in these other countries, what they go through. Fires that kill, 500 or 600 at a time in these sweatshops. It is rotten to the core. It's a cancer that has spread to the point where American people have accepted it. They don't want to put up a fight anymore. They've let Walmart walk all of them, dictate to them what they're going to buy and what prices they're going to pay.
Well, Jake, Steve is really talking about ethics, morality, and social justice and social fairness. Do you think that any of those factors, any of those ideas should come into play when you're determining whether you're going to pay your employees $20 an hour here in the U.S. or 18 or 17 or 14, or you're going to pay $2 or $3 an hour in China. What do you think you should do as a business owner?
Okay, well, first of all, Steve was talking more on emotion, and social justice versus capitalism. First of all, social justice is not created by government. And let's put it out on the table, because every time we talk about social justice, everybody says what the government should do, how the government should regulate for us to be equal. Second of all, if you're going to go and say that the company should do something in a free enterprise, see, the system of capitalism actually raised this nation to be the greatest nation in the world. Now, whether or not some people go illegally, do things that are not ethical, it's not for me to decide. The bottom line is, legal is the only question here. Are they doing things legally? Now, if they're doing things unethically, let the consumer decide. Let the people decide whether or not this company is going to survive. For example, I don't agree with Walmart because when the government started to talk about stricter gun laws, they wanted to stop selling ammo to people who are legally able to get a gun. So now, I don't agree with them on that point, but I'm not criticizing them because that's their business model, it's their decision, and it's their how do you want to put it? I'm not going to go on emotion and say, oh, they're bad people and they're running their business the way I don't like it. I'm just not going to buy from them. Fine, that's it. That's my prerogative. Now, if you're going to say that business should do this or this, let's say today you start a business and you're going to try to survive in a business. You have certain bills to pay, you have certain taxes to pay, you have certain requirements that you need to do to run your business. Am I going to come in and say, look, Steve or James, you have to run your business this way because ethically, I think you're charging more than a business next door, or you're charging less and you're driving business out of their competitive pricing. So now it's not up to me to decide. As long as you're doing it legally, it's totally up to you as a business owner. Whether it's capitalism, socialism, doesn't matter, because in any society, there's going to be a problem with any business. The only problem with social justice is if government decides that the business should run a certain way, no businessman cares about their business because the government steps into everything. And if it's not government, it's somebody else that decides who's right and wrong. As long as it's done legally, I do not care how the business is run. I'm just not going to buy from them if it's not ethical. That's my prerogative, and that's it.
Steve, you chuckled when Jake made a comment.
Because what is legal? Legal should be what's ethical.
No. See, Steve, this is. I'm gonna.
No, the plutocrats control the laws. What's happening? Just like the 5 and 4 decision on the DNA. I mean, that's not. I mean, they make it legal by doing something that's unethical.
Look,
I'm losing my rights. When they want to swab my mouth when I'm walking down the street because they think that I might be high, I've lost a right. And that's what this whole thing, Walmart, is. The people are losing their rights. They can't go other places to shop. They only have the Walmart to shop. That's unfair right there.
Okay. Look,
Jake, that's something very interesting that you say. You feel that at least in terms of business, I don't know about this criminal, legal, constitutional matter. Exactly. But you feel in terms of business, there's a defining line, a distinction between ethics and law.
Exactly. Look, Steve, you're bringing in another topic, and I'm sorry to say, you're trying to confuse the issue of business. Wait, let me finish. Yeah. Steve, I'm sorry. Let me finish. I listened to the other show, and we did great, but we argued over each other. Let me finish, then you speak, okay? Sorry. Basically, business model and a criminal and constitutional is two different things. Now, for example, if today government says that I'm supposed to report and give my DNA and give them my social security and give them my health records and give them everything, that's constitutional amendment that they're breaking. They're breaking my Fourth and Fifth Amendment rights. They're breaking my privacy of my word, of my property, of my person, and that's wrong. Now, if you legalize something and the business does something legally, and then they decide, well, this is legal for me to unbid the pricing, I mean, as a business owner, That's their prerogative. That's their right. Whether you think emotionally it's
That's what
ethical
Wall
or
Street
not.
said when they raped the people in the last 5
Okay,
years.
but
They had the right. They had the right to do it because there was no law to prevent them from doing it.
you you have emotions, and you have basically these great words that you use that they're not ethical. But what solutions do you have? Socialism? Absolutely not.
What does socialism have to do with it? I like the word social
You say social justice.
because
Social
I
justice
think
is
that
not
everything should be done for the betterment of a society and
okay.
not individuals.
Okay. Do you have a solution how to do it better? Because obviously you're saying it's not ethical
Let
and
me
it's
let me pose this theoretical to you. You say that you were against the one party system under Bolshevism. Well, I'm against the once industrial capitalistic choice of one store only to buy from. And that's, to me, is the same thing.
you don't have one
If
store.
you'll
That's
agree that you don't like one party, but you won't agree that you don't like one store, then I can't understand where your logic's coming from.
well, my logic is you don't have one store. You just keep pointing to the same store because they're
Oh,
unethical.
we're heading to that.
Wait,
We're
stop.
on the verge of it now. They've eaten up all the
No,
little guys.
we've been on the bridge of that for many years. I mean, look, if it's
And
not one
first,
company, look how many companies went huge and then they closed down because, of different problems. But you don't have one company to buy from. You're welcome to go buy toys at a small mom and pop shop. The only problem is you don't want to pay bigger prices. So you're lecturing me on the emotions and ethics, but you yourself will go and try to buy it cheaper. Am I right?
it all depends on what I'm buying. If I'm buying something that's a little bit more expensive but a better quality, I'm going to do that, and I do that with everything I buy.
So
I
do
don't
I.
I
So
don't
do
buy cheap things. I buy what's the best quality for the money.
So you just answered your own question. You don't have one store to buy. You buy
No, I
both.
don't go to this cheap store. I'm saying if I wanted cheap, I would go to the dollar store, and that's the only thing that's surviving
Okay,
against Walmart are the
okay.
dollar stores,
So
and that's
dollar
all
store. Okay,
Chinese, and that's Chinese imports also.
so okay, so but
The only person that's making out on this are the Chinese. The
okay,
American people, the populace, are losing in this country.
Steve, you have this gift. You just woke me up because I was not feeling well, and you just drilled me right into this argument. Listen,
Jake, I told you that would happen at the before we went on the air. Yes.
you did. I mean, it's pretty amazing. He has a gift, truly. Listen, Steve, I'm not arguing with you, but you're telling me we're going towards one store option. We're not. We never will be. If the government stays out of the stores and
Oh,
out of over regulating them, Walmart will die because Walmart, if they keep going at this rate, a lot of people are confused about emotion and legally and ethically. See, this is the problem. You have more than one store, but you tend to blame Walmart for what they're doing. Don't buy from Walmart. Simple solution. Don't buy from Walmart. That's it. But people tend to buy because they want cheaper prices, and then they say, I hate China. Don't blame China. Don't blame Walmart. Blame yourself. Blame yourself.
I buy very few things at Walmart. I agree.
Okay, but you do
I
buy.
buy some things, but they're very few.
I'm proud to say, not because I look at their policies. I'm proud to say I never bought anything from Walmart just because I didn't like the product.
Most of the
I
things sold in Walmart aren't worth the price that they even put on them, as low as they are. Like a
listen.
dollar store. To me, a dollar store, what you buy is something that's going to last for like maybe a day.
Good. See, so you're a smart consumer. You made a decision on your own. Nobody made you make that decision.
Well,
There's no social justice here. You
my
made the
decision
decision.
is I want more choices. I want more choices,
You
more
have a
freedom,
lot of choices.
and
Steve,
they're
you don't know.
becoming more limited all the time.
Steve, you don't know what lack of choices is. Trust me, my friend. You never lived in a society where there is no choices.
Well,
Trust
that's
me.
what we're heading towards.
No,
We're
we're
heading
not.
towards that.
Well, yes. If we don't curb the government outreach, we will head towards government running the whole show.
Government has nothing to do. The government is encouraging this monopolistic idea that Walmart and Home Depot.
Absolutely no. Government went after Microsoft when they tried to do that. They went after Microsoft. I forgot what year it was, and I forgot which administration, but it doesn't matter. They went after Microsoft, and Bill Gates had to prove that he's not monopolizing the market.
Well, they should do that to everybody.
Well, should do. If it's illegal, they should. But if it's legal, what choice do we have? Let the business run itself. See, what I'm trying to tell you, when you open a business, there are certain things that you're required to do. You're required to pay bills. And the business decides how the best way to run their own business. Now, if the government tells them that this is illegal, that's one thing. But if the government says, no, ethically, you're not running this properly, you should do this, you should let people camp in your parking lot, that's not government solution. That's not government's
I
job.
would work for a company that's unethical, but unfortunately, because of the way the government and the capitalists have created an environment of need that you have to work no matter what. And if Walmart is the capitalistic entity that hires these people to work for nothing because they need income, they need money to live by. I mean, it's a perpetual system that is taking the average person lower and lower and lower.
Well, I mean, look, it's all emotions. It's all emotions.
No, it's not emotions at all.
It's emotions. You're talking on emotion. You're saying that this is unethical. This is not right. China is getting our jobs, and I'm not disagreeing with you. But what solution do you have? That the government steps in and tells them not to do it?
Well, if the government doesn't control it, who's going to? Because they're living on greed now. These corporations are going by greed. They aren't going by ethical standards.
Do you think that if you put some regulations from a government official, you're going to eliminate the greed? Then the government's going to.
Corporations don't care about their employees. They don't care if they're working or not, because they can hire somebody else to take their place. I mean, it's like the gulags. It's like the cheap labor that we had in this country to build the railroads. Everything that was done in this country was at the expense of the poor guy, the little man. And people got rich.
But how many poor guys became successful and actually very rich in this country?
Not a whole lot.
Oh, come on, not a whole lot. Look at Hollywood. Look at business people that came from nothing. Look at people that traveled here overseas.
What happened to your company?
What happened to which company?
I don't know. You said you had a company, you went out of business. Why?
Okay, so listen, but it doesn't happen to everybody. Everybody has the same chance.
It will eventually. You know what? It will happen eventually.
Steve, you brought up a good point. Let me speak about that point. You're right. I did not do as well, but I don't blame the society. I don't blame capitalism. I blame myself. Maybe I didn't do the business properly. Maybe not. I don't know who. I don't want to blame anybody. I tried. I didn't succeed. I'm going to try again maybe. I don't know. The point is, I had the same opportunity as everybody else. That's my point.
Jake, I'm just going to tell you one story. 25 years ago, I did a divorce for a guy who was involved in real estate and property. He had started out as a high-end property appraiser on commercial properties, and he ended up buying properties, and he did very well. So this is 25 years ago.
Mm-hmm.
I looked at his financial affidavit, and he had exactly, outside of a house, which was back in those days maybe worth $125, he had $4 million almost to the penny in assets.
Okay.
And I said to him, gee, I said, that's funny. I said, your affidavit is exactly $4 million. He said, I planned it that way. He said, when I always determined when I got the $4 million, I was going to retire. He said, I wanted to be a millionaire, and that's as far as I wanted to go. So we were talking, and I said to him, Phil, what do you think if a guy's born and he's born to a middle-class family, his father's a teacher and a basketball coach, and his mother's a bartender at the corner bar during the day, okay? I said, what are his chances of becoming a millionaire? And he looked at me and he said, well, compared to a guy who has a well-situated family, he said he has a 20% chance of making it as well as a guy who starts with such a head start. And I absolutely believe that. I don't think everybody in America has the same chance.
No, we don't get a fair shake at all. The people with money control. The people with money.
So you're talking out of basically out of jealousy for people who have money.
See, well, look at the Bush family. They've always worked off of networks and connections.
Guys,
the father always got the son into a job with his buddies, the grandfather, the father, the kid, you know. But
Okay,
it's not just the Bushes. I mean, it's millions of well-to-do families
okay,
connect their children up with their pals.
okay. Let me say something. I have a friend, and even though we disagree a lot, and I would say that he's probably like Steve. He calls himself a lenient to moderate Republican, but we argue on a lot of issues. And his point is actually very interesting.
I'm
He
not a
says,
Republican.
"What is that?"
I'm not a
I
Republican.
know, I know, Steve, I know.
I'm not a
Believe me,
Democrat either.
you're not. You're as Steve. I know you're as left as they come, but let's leave that aside for a second. No, what I want to say, I'm not trying to ridicule the situation. My friend has a really interesting point, and he says today you take away all the money from all the people that have it, and then you allow people to have it again. People that have the money will have it again.
No,
Most
absolutely wrong.
wait, let me
Absolutely.
say, let me
I
say,
disagree with that
let me
100%.
say. God, let me explain. See, you don't even understand what I
Oh,
what.
that's called redistribution of wealth. And as
You
theoretically, we've gone through this in
okay.
business school. It would never happen the way it is because everybody that's a billionaire today, they got it illegally at some point in their family.
Everybody. You know how many people I know that they went to school with me, they went to high school with me, and they went from nothing to making a good business for
Oh, yeah,
themselves.
sure. There's nothing wrong with that. That's why
Okay,
if you
so
redistribute
wait,
the wealth like
so
what you're saying, you'll
all
have
of them,
people that were nobodies becoming somebody great. And
Steve,
I'm not saying that's the way to go either. I'm not for redistributing wealth. I'm being egalitarian. I think we should
Steve,
create
how
a
can you learn if you're going to
fair
interrupt?
state for everybody.
How are you going to learn what I'm about to say if you're going to interrupt me? Let me finish my point, and then you're welcome to tell me what you think about the point. Okay, let me
You're
say,
saying you're talking about somebody made a statement that if they redistribute the wealth,
no,
eventually the same
no,
people
no,
have the
no,
money again. That's
no,
completely
no.
wrong. That's a
You,
fallacy. That is
I
a
never
fallacy.
talk about distribution. I never talk about that. See, this is the problem.
That's what it is. That's the different term.
You're using emotion to argue with me, and I'm trying.
Emotion. I'm telling you what it's called. What you said what
No,
people
I
told
didn't
you
say
about.
distribution. I
You
did not
made a statement. If everybody
finish my
started
point.
even again, they would be the same people holding the money down the road, and that's a fallacy. Redistribution of wealth is a fallacy.
It's a fallacy, but you want social justice and you want that. But let me finish my
No, I
point.
don't want that.
Point.
Okay, Jake, let me stop you there. I'm going back to Walmart. Listen to me because I want to talk about redistribution of wealth.
I want to talk about. Let me finish my point, please.
Okay, all right, okay.
Okay, so he said that basically you take money away, right? You let people start from the same point, not redistribution. Let people start, and the rich people will
That's
become rich
redistribution.
because a lot of my friends that have money, they started from nothing, but they made good business and they knew how to do it. See, maybe I didn't know how to run a business. They do. Okay, so his point is valid because a businessman, you say illegal. Okay, maybe there's some illegal businessmen, maybe some unethical businessmen, but there's a lot of good businessmen that know how to run a business, and they will do it again over and over and over.
They
That's my.
make you think that. They make you think that.
Oh well, I know these people personally for 33 years, but they make me
You
think that.
haven't been in this country long enough to study American history and see who the robber barons of the 19th
I
century, the
know.
families today that were considered the cream of the crop in the United States,
Forget
how
about
their
three.
great grandfathers, how they raped the
I know
working
his.
class people to
I know
make the money they
bootleggers.
did.
I know
The
bootleggers.
railroads, the
I
banks, they're all built on people's on death of
know.
the
I
Okay,
poor.
but let me
bootleggers.
get you guys back to Walmart in the exact same vein. I'm going to give you some figures. Yes, they're a little bit old, but we're bright enough to apply inflation and also consumer price index, so we can figure it out. In 2006, full-time workers at Walmart averaged $10.11 an hour. And if someone was working 34 hours per week, they were getting 17,874, about 18,000, okay? Which at that time was 20% less than the average retail worker, okay? Uh, the pay was $10,000 less than what the average two-person family needed. In 2001, 12 years ago, the average wage for a Walmart clerk was $8.23 per hour or $13,800. $861 a year. The federal poverty line was $14,630. Okay. In 2006, Walmart said it would increase wages 6%. We don't know. All right. This is what the deal is, though. Sam Walton said, and all the newspapers have printed this, I pay low wages. I can take advantage of that. We are going to be successful. And then listen to this. But the basis is a very low wage, low benefit model of employment. That was his basis of success. Steve, what do you think of that? Now, obviously, they can get away with it because
that's a pure case of capitalism right there.
Okay, but people need a job, so they'll take what they give them.
They're forced into it, like you said. The other stores, the competition were put out of business. The people got to go to work. Now they got to work for less people, for less money. Perfect example of how the capitalist society that we're in today is revolving in reverse. People are not getting better, they're going downhill. The corporations, the big boys, the 2%ers, the plutocrats, they're getting better and better.
Well, do you think that an employer such as Walmart should increase wages based on the goodness of their heart?
Out of the goodness of their heart, they should pay according to what a person is worth. If they're putting somebody out of business that's making $10 an hour, it's unethical to pay them $8 an hour just to work for them. And they're making profit on the people that are making the product outside the country. They're making profit on every single link in the supply chain.
So you think that they're taking advantage of the system?
Definitely taking advantage of it.
All right. Jake, do you think that Walmart has any type of obligation to pay a higher wage if they can get away with paying a lower wage?
Obligation, no. But if they want to stay competitive and eventually get good employees, they should rethink their process. Look. Let me finish. I've been in the market, in the professional market, for over 20 years. I've been in IT for over 20 years. I always tend to try to find a job that pays well, that has better benefits, bills. Now, if I'm forced to get a job for a lower rate, I usually try to negotiate or go to another company. That's what I do as a free person and in a free enterprise system. Now, is the company obligated to pay me because I know certain things? No, the company decides what's good for them. And a lot of times the company doesn't get the talent that they should get. And that's why the companies fail, because they get cheaper labor and they eventually fail. Now, if Walmart wants to do that, I'm sure they can get people, let's say even cashiers, that are better than, let's say, the ones they have right now. Maybe not, maybe they have great ones, but they're not forcing anybody. They say, this is our salary, you're welcome to get it. People are not forced. They can go work at ShopRite, they can work at another company that maybe pays better. They have a choice. There's always a choice in the free market.
Yeah, pretty much. It's like in real estate. It's a seller's market versus a buyer's market. The person that haves can dictate to the have-nots. That's completely unfair.
Let me ask you about this. Let me
make one point.
Yeah.
In terms of what he said about having a choice between where you work, one employer versus the other. I can remember 30 years ago, I was in that predicament. When I come out of college, I had choices between, I was looking at Digital Equipment, General Electric, who had the best pension plan.
Okay.
Now, who talks about pension plans now? They're a thing of the past. Corporations have been able to get away without even having a pension plan.
Okay, fine, but
that was a selling point to work for somebody 30, 40 years ago.
But you know what?
Another loss of rights by the Americans.
Let me give you an example. I had a company, okay, and at the time I was asking them to pay me, let's say 100,000, and they said we'll give you 70,000 and 30,000 will be your bonus. And my choice was to say no, and I said no because bonus is not guaranteed. They said, oh, we guarantee our bonus, and guess what? A couple of years later, no bonuses were guaranteed. So it was my choice to tell them how I want to get paid, and the company chose not to pay me that way, and I chose to go somewhere else. So I have a choice as a smart consumer, let's say, an employee or whoever you want to call it. I had a choice. The market wasn't great, but it was my choice.
Because you have to work.
No, but I chose to go somewhere else. Wait, Steve, I just gave you an example. I went somewhere else. I did not take the 30,000 bonus because I knew that 30,000 is not guaranteed.
Yeah, because now you don't even get the choice anymore.
Now, Jake, I got a little hot item here that's right up your alley. I'm dying to hear what you have to say about this one. Okay? They have found that because Walmart employs part-time and relatively low-paid workers, some workers may partially qualify for state welfare programs. In Georgia, they have a public subsidized health care system called Peach Care. Everything in Georgia is named Peach.
Mm-hmm.
And they found that Walmart was the largest private employer of parents of children enrolled in its program. Okay? 1/4 of the employees of Georgia Walmarts qualified to enroll their children in the federally subsidized health care system of Medicaid. Out in California, they found that Walmart's low wages and benefits were insufficient and cost the California taxpayers $86 million in order to subsidize Walmart employees.
And the corporations are the ones complaining about the
Yeah.
subsidies.
Do you think that's right? Do you think it's right that Walmart is pawning its employees and their children off on the government-run programs?
I don't think it's right. I mean, look, California is dying from tax burden, so I don't think it's right. I don't think the company should put their burden on somebody else. But now, it's up to once again, it's up to the company. People have a choice to work somewhere else. If people choose that this is their best solution, that they want to be working for a company that subsidizes through their own taxes, I mean, look, people are ending up paying for it themselves. People that work for Walmart, they pay taxes, and they end up paying for that through subsidies, and they're getting hurt in the long run. Just like companies now that are trying to limit their workforce because they have to pay Obamacare.
You make it sound like it's so easy to change.
No, you see, this is.
You can't.
Today, no, I'm not saying it's easy.
Each year, it's more difficult to find a job. Pretty soon there won't be any jobs left.
Look, Steve, one thing we agree on, it's not easy. And I'm not saying it's easy, but you tend to say that unethically they should do this, unethically they should be forced to do this. I mean, you're making it sound like you have all the solutions. The government just has to step in and fix it. I don't want government to fix anything.
They should never have let Walmart get to where they are today.
Oh, so they should have just curbed their business as soon as they started growing?
Yeah, Jim mentioned the antitrust earlier. The antitrust laws in the last 25 years are diminishing. I mean, the labor laws are being completely reversed. Every time a Republican administration comes in, that's the first thing they do.
See, Steve,
Democrats, when they come in, they don't even care about it anymore.
They play into emotions, and then they reap benefits of the unions. I mean, seriously. I mean, you're making it sound like Republican Party is so evil that without Republican Party, our country would be better. You know, the Democrats right now, every poorest city in the country is run by Democrats. Do you realize that?
Not every poor city.
Yeah, every poor city. 10 poorest cities in America are run by Democrats for at least a decade or more. It's a fact. It's a fact.
Miami.
I don't know.
Miami's run by Republicans.
Yeah, and then one of the poorest cities in the country.
Yes,
highest crime in the country is in Miami.
Don't mix crime with the poor, okay? See, New York had crime. Who fixed crime? Giuliani. Can you blame Republicans in New York? No.
Well,
okay.
Jake, I'm going to go back to Walmart.
Wasn't mentioning parties, but you brought me there.
Hold on. During the last 3 to 8 years, there was a hot topic on television, and I remember this very, very clearly. It was alleged, and I think proven, and I think settled in court. In fact, I guess in Colorado, Walmart had to pay $50 million to settle a class action lawsuit. What would happen is a worker would clock out at 5 o'clock in the afternoon. That would be the end of their workday, the end of their shift. And then the manager would say, no, you have to give us extra time. You have to stay and work off the clock, meaning we're not going to pay you for this extra hour or 45 minutes, but you have to stay and help out, and we're not going to pay you any overtime. What do you think? And that was actual. Everybody knows that. They had thousands of witnesses to that. What do you think of that? What do you think of them making them do that? Do you think a person should get paid when they work?
No, of course they should get paid. That's not right.
That still happens today. My next door neighbor.
I listen. I'm not saying Walmart is
hours without getting paid.
Okay.
Then when she puts up a complaint about it, she complains. They let her go on unemployment, and she loses her job.
Steve, let me answer the question at least.
Because they saw a
Okay,
large
you like to
supply
hear
of
yourself speak.
workers, they could get away with it. But if there's not a large supply of workers, they wouldn't be able to do that.
No,
Florida is like the
no,
first. You
no,
haven't lived there in
no.
Florida. You don't see how bad the labor is down here.
Is this The Price is Right, or what's the music where somebody
You're
plays the
from New
music?
York and New Jersey, where at least there's some rights still available for the workers, but not in Florida. No way. I
Okay.
mean, they're pushing everywhere in the country, but not, more so in Florida over the last 20 years.
Are you done?
Sort
Because
of. He's not completely. He'll never be done.
never done.
He'll never be done, Jake. But we
Okay.
only have an hour show here. Okay.
Okay, listen. Jim said Jake, so I assumed I'm Jake at this point. I mean, unless I'm confused about that.
No, you're Jake.
I'm
Yes.
beginning to wonder right now.
We're so confused. You're Jake. He's
I'm
Steve.
Jake.
I'm Jim. Okay. Go Jake. Go.
Can I please say something?
Yes.
I never defend Walmart. I never defend any company. I always tend to be critical if the company does something wrong. But if they're doing things legally, that's one thing. If they're doing things unethically, I agree. I disagree that the person that works extra should get paid more. I agree with that. But that's totally up to you. If the person complains, I'll give you an example. On the weekend, I drive a limo, okay? A lot of people complain about driving a limo, so don't drive a limo. Go somewhere else. There are other jobs available. I mean, there are. You don't like the job, but they are available. You have a choice. If you complain about what you do, if you don't like the company you work for, start looking for a new job. A lot of people get comfortable and they just sit and complain. And I'm not making it sound easy. I know it's a tough market. I know I've been there many times. But if I'm complaining about the company I work for, the best thing to do is start looking for a new job, a new company. And most people don't do that because they rather complain.
Oh, come on. There are no jobs. Just talk to college graduates. It's like a thousand people graduating in one school and they were competing for 10 jobs. That's ridiculous.
You know what I notice? You know what I notice? You see people that complain about the job. They find a job in a different company and they complain there. So if you're gonna complain, find a job that you like, but there are jobs available.
You're absolutely
It's not
wrong.
for
I got a case study of the girl next door. She used to work for me. She's a great worker. I saw what this company where she worked for here in Jupiter, what they put her through. When she put up resistance to having to work extra hours without pay, they let her go. And they let her go in a way that she could not get a job back. I mean, she was a good worker, but she voiced her opinion that they were doing something unethical.
Okay.
And she lost her job because of it. This country is corrupt.
Well, excuse me. Try to say you don't like your job in Russia. See where you end up. I mean, in the Soviet society. See where you end up. You're not going to just lose your job. Trust me.
Okay.
We're not talking about Russia.
Let's go to the next Walmart. I got to go to Walmart. Federal agents raided 61 Walmart stores in 21 U.S. states in a crackdown known as Operation Rollback. This resulted in the arrests of 250 night shift janitors who were undocumented. A grand jury was convened, and they did find that these were subcontractors. Janitorial companies had contracted with Walmart, and they had hired these undocumented employees. But federal investigators wiretapped Walmart conversations showing that executives knew that workers for the janitorial companies did not have the right papers. Now, in my humble opinion, Walmart doesn't like unions. They're a very conservative company. The United States Chamber of Commerce, very conservative, seem to be a lobbying arm for businesses throughout the United States. And the conservative people, and I think Walmart's conservative, are all against illegal immigrants and undocumented workers. Does it offend you, Jake, that Walmart was found either directly or indirectly to be using undocumented workers?
Yes, of course it offends me. Listen, I mean, they're taking those 20 jobs, however many jobs they had, away from American workers that could do the same job. Yes, it offends me. I don't care if they're conservative, if they're ultra Republican, if they stand on their head and say we're right wing. I don't care. That's why I don't claim myself to be a center or a moderate. I'm a Republican, and if somebody breaks the law, I don't care. I don't care about that. I believe in Republican principles, but I don't believe in illegally breaking the law. They broke the law. They should pay for it.
Okay. Steve, does it bother you that Walmart was using undocumented workers when Walmart certainly seems to be aligned with the United States Chamber of Commerce?
Well, can I ask a
Let
question?
me just say, they aren't the only ones doing it.
Okay, can I ask a
All the
question?
corporations are doing it as much as they can get away with it.
Okay. Can I ask a question?
Yes.
Steve, you always tend to blame the Republican Party. What makes
I'm
you
not blaming the Republican
what
Party.
makes you a center? What makes you in the center? What center do you pick? Because
I said to you the last time we spoke that the greatest president in the history of the United States was a Republican. But
Okay.
you didn't hear that.
no, but I remember you saying that, but you always tend to say Republican Party, Republicans did this, Republicans right wing.
Because it's been during the Republican administrations that people have lost more rights than they did during the Democratic
We're not
administration.
losing our rights. Wait, but you're not blaming Obama for anything? You're not.
Yes, I do. I'm blaming him for letting the Supreme Court make the
So
decision.
you're blaming Obama for letting Republicans run him. Basically, you're blaming Republicans for making Obama a bad person. I'm sorry, it's funny.
We said we weren't going to mention Obama today. How did he get into this subject?
To hear what makes Steve center.
I don't like you to say the word Obama.
Do you know?
Okay. Before you two guys go, we've only got 3.5 minutes. Listen to this story. In 2011, 4 employees at a Walmart in Layton, Utah, were confronted by a shoplifter who had a gun. The shoplifter had a gun, okay? They took an employee hostage. The other 3 employees disarmed and subdued the shoplifter. The Walmart guys didn't have guns. The shoplifter did. They detained the person with the gun until the police arrived. And listen to this. Walmart fired them for violating company policy where they should disengage and withdraw from any situation involving a weapon. So here you had a shoplifter take an employee hostage. The other 3 employees band together, subdue the person, free the hostage, and they get fired for being involved in an incident involving a gun.
That's stupid.
50 years ago, they would have got a raise in pay and a bonus. Today they can get away with firing the person.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Well,
Now, Jake,
Upside down society.
Jake,
Upside down.
tell me how corporations have gone crazy
Well,
in that
listen.
situation.
It's not corporations crazy. It's just stupid policy. I mean, this is stupidity. I mean, that's.
No, because they can get away with it. Walmart and all the big corporations.
At its best. I mean, the whole thing, like I said, the whole thing that Walmart to stop selling. Wait, the whole thing that Walmart. Okay.
Held accountable.
His name is Jake.
The society. They should be held accountable.
I mean, is that really any way to treat your employees,
No,
Jake,
absolutely
when
not.
they're heroes, when they're heroic?
Let's hear what I have to say. Let me say it. No, I don't agree with this. This is stupid. Can I say something, please? God,
Yeah, what about those guys that shot Bin Laden? Should we get rid of SEAL Team 6 now?
They'll get rid of them now.
All right. You guys, why do you guys have me on the show if you're talking to each other? Let me say something. I'm a martial artist. If I see somebody with a weapon, I will try to take it away. That's my policy. Whether they're going to fire me for that, I couldn't give a I'm sorry to say the word.
You can say it, Jake. We're on internet radio.
I know, but I'd rather not go that route because once we do, we're going to use it every time.
Okay.
No, but what I'm saying is,
clarify, the person with a gun that was in Walmart happened to be a 10-year-old.
10-year-old?
He's just kidding, Jake.
Yeah, okay. No, listen, I have martial arts background. So if I see a weapon, my first prerogative is to first make sure the situation is secure, that they're not going to hurt somebody while I'm taking the weapon away, and I will try to take the weapon away. So if the policy says I can't, I'm just going to spit in their face. That's my policy.
Jake and Steve, it was so great to share our anniversary show with the 3 of us being together here in Jupiter, Florida, and in New Jersey, the Garden State. Jake, thank you for coming on and making our anniversary show so memorable. Steve,
I wonder how many rights we're going to lose in the next year.
I don't know. But yeah,
well,
in when we do the next year's show, Jake, we're definitely having you back on, and we'll look at rights around the United States. Yes.
Thank you. Let me say something. I'm glad to be on your show, and I just want to mention my book real quick, which is called. Yes, go ahead. You can mention the book, but congratulations on 1 year anniversary.
Yes, say it again. Aftertastes and Tales of Russia.
From Russia.
From Russia. Aftertastes and Tales from Russia. Jake Danishevsky. You can get it on the internet. It's a great read. Thank you, guys.
I'm going to read it right after I read O'Reilly's book about the true story of Christ.
Yes. Okay.
Read it first.
I have to say, guys, that's all the time.